My take tonight is on a new debate in the country, even as parents look to take a break with their children over this holiday period. This is the pronouncement regarding boarding schools at primary level that was made by the Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Education. Now, it came off as a policy pronouncement and has gotten varying views on either side of the divide regarding the pros and cons of boarding schools for primary school learners. It has left many wondering if or perhaps when it would be effected, whether it was a directive or a proposal that was still up for discussion with stakeholders, and yes, that now familiar principle in this country of public participation. The constitutional principle of public participation, which basically gives Kenyans a say in how they're governed. Article 10 of the Constitution of Kenya on national values and principles of governance instructs specifically that among the principles of governance is participation of the people in the decisions that affect them. These values are binding to all state officers, state organs, public officers, and all persons whenever any of them applies or interprets any law, or as the Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Education was doing, makes or implements public policy decisions. Indeed, many petitions have ended up in court in this country challenging government while citing lack of public participation. The controversial National Government Constituency Development Fund is one such example of policy decisions and pieces of legislation that fell on the sword of public participation. Article 10 of the Constitution of Kenya 2010 aimed not only to promote inclusivity and accommodate diversity in matters governance, but also set out how to govern how the governed are governed. In a way, the article also wanted to reduce or eliminate roadside, non-consultative, and altogether unilateral declarations, especially by public or state officers. So, for the avoidance of doubt, I have no idea or opinion on the matter of day schools versus boarding schools for primary school learners. But I have a fair sense of how the conversation should play out. It cannot be top-down or even bottom-up, pun intended. This is the space of dialogue. This belongs to the arena of rigorous exchange of ideas between those who govern and the governed, and between parents and education authorities. It cannot be a vertical edict. I can't help but imagine the plight of parents across the country who are currently suffering, among other things, information overload, especially on matters education. You see, parents are still dealing with the news that junior secondary schools will be domiciled in primary schools. And then before that, they were hit with the shock of removal of tuition subsidies that'll make the cost of school fees steep when schools reopen in January. So we're talking of parents in need of some relief. And we could start with a simple one that should be achievable: clarity. We say clarity because these same parents are aware of the large working party on education that is supposed to be doing the thinking, carrying out engagements, and formulating recommendations on whatever necessary changes are needed to the education system. Now, that is how clarity works. And there is a body mandated with a specific assignment that then informs the policy decisions that state officers will go out and pronounce and implement. So parents should not be blamed when they start concluding that there is already conflict between the Ministry of Education and the Education Working Party, whose broad mandate includes the review of the various levels of education in the country. And so education authorities need to move with speed in providing clarity to both parents and learners, as well as other stakeholders in the country's system. Let us open up the matter of boarding schools to robust discussion, exchange of ideas, before categorical pronouncements are made. Let us hear from parents who prefer boarding schools and why. Let's hear from the proponents of day schools and their thoughts on parenting. Let us hear from those who say boarding schools are sometimes a haven for children from troubled backgrounds. Let's hear from those that say they provide a safe haven for children from homes where there's violence or lack of food. In fact, let's hear from learners themselves, both past and present, on their experiences in both day and boarding schools. And what about education stakeholders and others who've done extensive research? Educationists, school teachers, administrators, owners in both public and private sectors of education. And how about psychologists as well? Feel free to add others to this list. And while we conduct this public participation, let it not just be a case of ticking the box, but rather genuinely listening, incorporating, and duly considering all views before making a pronouncement one way or the other. That is my take tonight.